Y'all, I got done watching the Love Island reunion. Let's get into it. First off, I just want to say I love all of the looks. All of the looks were eating. Everybody did their tens. Everybody got their tens. So let's get into it because Andy Cohen, I feel like I liked him as a reunion host. He got into all the messy questions that low key, at least, I was thinking of some of these questions too. So I'm happy they got him. But firstly, apparently a video came out and people were speculating that Brian was cheating on Amaya. And also, if I look over here, I wrote down notes as I was watching. But Brian allegedly cheated on Amaya, and he said that he had a lapse in judgment, and the lapse in judgment was pouring shots. I feel like he's lying. I feel like it was more than that, but he didn't want to say it. But I don't know. But he said that him and Amaya talked about it, and they're fine. And, I mean, I guess they're happy, so there's nothing much to speak on with that. But, yeah, that's that. And then after that, he got to Pepe and Iris, and he asked them, like, how they're doing. And they said they're exclusive but not dating yet. And Pepe said that him and Iris have two different ideas of dating. Iris says that they have to date first and then be boyfriend and girlfriend, and Pepe disagrees. Then after that, this is why I love Andy Cohen. He was being messy. He asked Iris if Iris wants to be his girlfriend, and Iris hesitated before saying yes. And I was like, ooh, I caught that, girl. I caught that. But then Andy Cohen brought up how Iris was spotted meeting TJ after her time in the villa. And Iris was like, oh, yeah, I only did that to get, like, closure. And I believe her. I mean, she sounds very mature, so yeah, I believe her 100%. Then after that, Andy Cohen asked Pepe if him and Hannah have spoken since, and he said yes, and they're fine, and they caught up, and they got closure as well. Then it got to Huda and Chris. Now, Huda was one of my favorites this season, so not too much on my girl. Also, new camera angle. Huda and Chris were together, but they broke up on the last day. And Andy Cohen asked them both, what is it like to see each other? Huda said it was fine seeing Chris. Chris is going to interrupt Huda actually speaking and say, it's weird. And to quote exactly, he said, it's very weird seeing Huda. And that made me gag. I was like, ooh. Andy Cohen was like, why is it weird? And Chris says that he can't respect Huda after what she said to the press. And Huda said she said what she said because Chris had a wandering eye for other girls in the villa. And that's basically what happened, but Huda said it's okay and she isn't mad at that. As that's happening, we cut to Ace, Shelly, and the others like in some back room watching what's happening before they come on. And Ace started laughing, and that pissed me off. But I'm just like, bro, like, Ace this season, like, I like him at some parts, but other parts, I'm just like, it gives, like, But then Andy Cohen was like, so would you ever want to be Huda's friend? Are y'all friends? And Chris said, I'm not her friend, and I don't ever want to be her friend. I said, ooh. I had to laugh. But then they were like, Huda, are you with anybody now since you were last single in the villa? And she said she's not allowed to speak on her current relationships. Everybody's like, why? She said, legally. Andy's like, what do you mean legally? And then she's like, Netflix. And then he's like, Netflix said you aren't allowed to speak on your current relationship. And she's like, yep. But based off a picture she posted a couple days ago, I think she's with that one boy from Too Hot to Handle, which is on Netflix. So I think that's why she's not allowed to say that. But from now on, if somebody ever asks me about something I don't want to talk about, I'm going to just say Netflix. But when she said that, though, Chris rolled his eyes, and that annoyed me. Then Nicolandria came out, and I love them. They're so strong. And Alandria said that her haters are like her second family, And then Nick said they hate us because they ain't us. And he clocked that tea, darling. Nick said he hasn't spoken to Sierra and doesn't want to speak to Sierra. But not because of what she said that got her kicked off. He said it was because of TikTok she made after leaving, saying, like, when your friend dates your ex or something like that. And Nick said he didn't like that or respect that. And then after that, Taylor and Clark and Ace and Shelly come in. They're talking to Shelly, and Andy Cohen was like, so how do you feel after being voted off after you got serious? And then Shelly said, they don't know what Love Island is about. Now, what got me is that most of the people in the villa was telling Jeremiah he was wrong, he was a scammer, and stuff like that, or being serious with Huda. Now, keep in mind, Love Island is about finding love, and they were telling Jeremiah he's weird, and he's a scammer, and he has an agenda because him and Huda got serious in the beginning. But yet, you're saying the people don't know what Love Island is about after voting you off, after you and Ace got serious? That by the way, there's a lot of hypocrisy when it comes to the whole, like, not just the Jeremiah situation, but there's a lot of hypocrisy just period. So this is the one time I'm gonna address hypocrisy because it does show up other times in the reunion. It happens a lot. Taylor said he was actually torn between Clark and Alandria, and Alandria said she believed him in the moment. And she was just like, it never happened with Taylor because at the end of the day, he wasn't ever really attracted to her. Then Andy Cohen was like, did you apologize? And Taylor was like, no, but I can do that now. And then he apologized. That apology seemed so fake and awkward, bruh. Like, it genuinely did. And I was just like, ugh. And then afterwards, it was just silence. And they were like, should we clap? Like, it did not seem real, in my opinion, at least. Then one thing that happened, right? So Andy Cohen asked Shelly why she thinks her and Ace were ranked so low. And then whenever Shelly would speak, Olandria would jump in, or if Olandria would speak, Shelly would jump in. And I'm just like, I get that they're like best friends, but like, the other part of me is just like, if somebody's asking somebody a question, don't respond for them or don't interject. Like, that's just me though, I think. Also, one thing that was really funny was they brought out Austin, TJ, Andrina, and the Casa Amor people. They asked Austin, TJ, and Andrina how they were doing, but not anybody else in Casa Amor. I honestly don't even remember their names, no shade, but that was a moment. Coco and Olandria get into it. Coco said that Olandria said some, but she actually didn't. And Olandria asked everybody in Casa if she said what Coco said. And everybody said, no, you didn't say that. So they clocked Coco, and then it gave Coco threw rocks, but then was trying to hide her hands afterwards. Like, but guess what? I will say, I really applaud them. And then Alandria and Shelly said that Huda played into the narrative that she was getting bullied when they say she wasn't, but we're going to get into that later. Andy Cohen asked Zach, like, how do you feel about Amaya and Brian after they got together? Because apparently Brian and Zach has had something going on. And then Brian said, yeah, something is going on, because he said I was on the show for money and wasn't genuine. And then Zach said, I never said that. But then after Brian clocked his tea and said, no, you actually did because X, Y, and Z, Zach said, okay, let's move on. And that was the last time Zach spoke in this entire reunion. We get to Austin. Austin and Jaden left as a couple, but now they broke up. Apparently, Austin wasn't honest and transparent and went on a date with a girl and embarrassed her without telling her first. Because apparently she was like, you can be with other people because we aren't official, but at least tell me first so you don't embarrass me. And Austin didn't do that, and Austin lied to her. And then Andrina was there and then doubled down on what Jane said, and she was like, oh yeah, like, Austin actually did, like, lie to her. Like, it was bad. Remember the Stand On Business Challenge when Huda was the person who made that comment about Pepe? So they played that clip in front of everybody. And then Huda apologized, which I didn't like. Because I feel like if you said something, you already told Chris that you said it. Stand on business. I would have thought she would have said, yeah, I said it. Because in the moment, I genuinely thought that. I like you as a person, like we're friends, but I did genuinely think that. But no, she apologized and said, I'm sorry. But in my notes, I said showed footage. I agree with Huda. I remember now. So apparently, the whole Chris thing with Huda bringing back Chris so Shelly and her could explore that. I genuinely think it just got miscommunicated to Shelly. Because when they played back the footage of Huda telling Shelly, and I understood it, and so did other Islanders. They also said they understood what she was talking about. But Shelly said it's not a misinterpretation and that Huda still did her wrong because she claimed she was bringing her back for Shelly, but she didn't move like that. Like, I just felt like Shelly that got miscommunicated because when I watched the footage, I said, "Oh, this makes sense." But and also one thing I also wrote down: Shelly is happy with Ace right now. So why is this even getting brought up? Why does Shelly still care? Charlie clocked T about why he felt like he shouldn't have left, and then he low-key shaded Taylor, saying Taylor should have went home. He was lying, saying he was attracted to Olandria when he actually wasn't. He said Taylor should have went home. I said, ooh, clock that. And then when they played back the footage of the girls deciding that Hannah should go home, it wasn't that bad. Like, they really didn't want to send her home. Hannah started crying, and what gagged me, not a single tear shed. Those were fake tears. Bad. It was horrendous. But you know what? They said they sent her home because she rushed into Pepe like how she rushed into Charlie. And that's fine. So, yeah. Also, something else I realized. Where the hell was Jalen? Jalen was not in this reunion at all. Like, it's crazy. And then Bella showed up. I low-key forgot about her, but she's fine. Then they brought out Jeremiah. The whole Jeremiah thing was crazy. So they're trying to tell Jeremiah, so did you love bomb Huda? And then Jeremiah's trying to explain the definition of love bombing bar for bar, but I thought he sounded slow, no tea, no shade. Like, when Huda said you can love bomb someone without knowing it, that's factual. Yes, you can. And I feel like what Huda felt was valid. Like, yes, you did validate my feelings at points, but I do feel like you love bombed me looking back. You did. And after that, Jeremiah told Ace, I just liked Huda too much too fast. That's love bombing, sir. And then, out of nowhere, Ace brings up to Austin, in a challenge, you said you would send Jeremiah home, but Austin said he was joking about that. So I don't know why he brought that up. That was weird to me. Like, he was trying to start beef between Austin and Jeremiah for no reason. But that was just my opinion. Austin and Jeremiah have beef with Ace bad. Like, it's so crazy. Like, Austin threw some shade. He was like, we're all a family. We just like some family members more than others. I said, what? That's crazy. But also, something that made me laugh, Huda tried to make a joke talking about something, but she said, like, scapegoat. She made a joke about a scapegoat, and she tried to explain it, and Nick didn't get it, so he was just like, That was awkward. Oh, and then something that gagged me was when Andy Cohen asked Ace, can you see how people can think you were the ringleader? He said, I was very vocal. He just didn't answer the question right there, so that was funny to me. But I felt like when Jeremiah came out, Ace just wanted something to be mad at because for some reason, Amaya caught a stray. Because he said something else he had to bring up. He brought up a TikTok that Amaya posted, but when he started to talk about it, Amaya was like, wait, we talked about this in private. And then he was like, yeah, but, and then goes to readdress it for the cameras. And I'm just like, what's the point of bringing this up? Like, I get it, but y'all talked about it already in private, and nobody asked you a specific question about that TikTok, so why'd you bring it up? And Huda got confronted about the bullying. Huda, while explaining how she got bullied and why she didn't address it, like, directly, like, and why she didn't defend Olandria, it seemed like she was contradicting herself at times. Like, it sounded like she was talking in circles for a little bit. Like, some of it would make sense, and then it would get to a point where I'm just like, what are you talking about? But, like, some stuff made sense, some stuff didn't. I think she should have just said who bullied her. Like, just say names, who bullied you, instead of Olandria asking to address the racism she's saying and then her just talking about being bullied. Because it does make it seem like they were the ones bullying her. But then again, like, I didn't watch these podcasts, but Huda said allegedly she did go on these podcasts and say she loves Alandria and she loves her girls and blah, 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 blah. And she did say that bullying is wrong, so don't do it. But Alandria is like, you should have made a direct post, blah, 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 blah. Now, I get that, but Huda did say that she was going through her own stuff at the time. And also something I think we all forgot, she is a single mother. She has to take care of her kid before anything Love Island. So, like, with that whole situation, I understand both sides for real. And then they played back the extended heart rate challenge video. Now, I was gagged. I was genuinely gagged because I didn't know Huda did that much. But then again, I stand on this. When I first watched it, I said, it's a challenge. When you were presented with a challenge, you play to win. I feel like Huda was presented with that challenge and she wanted to win. The whole point of the challenge was to make the person's heart rate go up. So she did that. Now, was it a lot? Yes, but I feel like she was just playing the challenge. She obviously has no attraction to Ace. She wanted to win the challenge. So I feel like Shelly being mad at Huda for doing that is, I can see Shelly's side, but at the end of the day, it was a challenge. And like I said, she's happy with Ace. Huda does not want Ace. So, I don't know, Chad. I don't know. But that's my opinion. The ending was really somber. It played back moments from the season. It said some people from this season are going to go on Love Island Games. And, yeah. But that's my opinions on the reunion. That's what happened. And, yeah, comment below your thoughts. Love y'all so much.